What is going on, TU crew? I hope you guys are starting off your week the right way. I hope you're enjoying it so far. I know this intro is a little bit different than usual, but it's actually going to be a two-parter, which is why we're doing it this way. This week we had OgDaBeast on. He was a great interview. We had some great conversations, and it ran a little bit long, so you're going to get two parts out of this. The first part, we're going to be talking about some NBA stuff. The second part, we're going to get into the NFL, but this is the NBA portion of that. Let's get into part one. What is going on, TU crew? We are back with another episode of the Surely Unqualified podcast. We've got a great episode for you guys today. We're going to be talking about, first of all, some NBA. Then we're going to get into some NFL. How are we feeling today, boys?
Feeling real good. I'm excited to get into another episode. Like you said, we got some good topics. We also have a special guest on today, OgDaBeast. If you don't follow him on TikTok, definitely go do that. One of the best content creators on the app.
Appreciate that, man. Thanks for y'all having me on.
Yeah, I'm as excited for this episode as I've been for any episode so far. We got some good stuff for you guys today. We're gonna have some fun.
Woo.
All right, as you guys know, we always kick it off with a guess that player. And OG, you are more than welcome to participate in this. In fact, I want you to participate in this because I'm down bad right now. Jake is leading 4 points. Luke has got 2, and I only have 1. So
is it NFL or NBA?
This is going to be an NBA player this time.
Okay.
You guys ready?
Ready as ever.
Let's do this.
He was a one and done at UCLA. He was drafted in 2009 by the Sixers. Currently plays in the Eastern Conference.
Ooh.
He's a 3-time all-defensive player. Plays point guard. And then the last one's going to give it away. So if you guys have any guesses.
Plays in the Eastern by the Sixers in 2009.
UCLA, my mind immediately went to Russell Westbrook, but that's not.
Play in the West.
Yeah.
He plays in the East. Got drafted by the Sixers in 2009.
Okay, I'm going to guess Kevin Love and that he got traded at some point.
Not all defensive team, not for Kevin Love.
No.
Michael Carter Williams keeps popping in my head, but I don't think.
No, he's Cuse. He was Cuse, right?
Okay, was he?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
But right, that's what I'm saying. I don't think he was good enough to get
it. Drew Holiday.
Yes, sir. That is
damn.
Let's go. I don't know.
Drew Holiday.
I was like,
I forgot about Drew Holiday getting drafted to the Sixers. Damn, he did.
Yeah, me too.
He played for UCLA, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I figured it had to be someone prominent, and he just won a chip. So prominent as ever.
Yeah, that was the last hint, was that they just won the finals. So.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't even hear that.
Oh, I didn't say that.
You said that? Okay. I was about to say, that would have narrowed it down.
Yeah, usually the last hint.
That would have been it.
Yeah, usually the last hint kind of gives it away.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
All right. So we talked about an
tough.
NBA player right there, and we're going to get into some NBA right off the bat. Let's talk a little finals. Our TU crew hasn't heard from us since the finals ended. Obviously, the Bucks and Giannis win it. How are we feeling?
I mean, Giannis, I gained a lot of respect. He showed me a lot. He showed me something I didn't know if he was capable of doing. I'm on record stating over and over, Giannis is not a number one option on a championship team. And this year, we know the injuries happened. We know everything that went down, but still that's consistent with history. So we really can't count that against Giannis Antetokounmpo. But what he did, averaging like 33 and 14 throughout this series, both sides of the court, offense and defense, the ability to allow himself to be coached by Coach Bud, to make the requisite adjustments that needed to be made to have success in this series, because he could have easily got beat by the Nets. Also, Milwaukee as a whole, the team without Giannis, the series was tied at 2 when he got hurt against Atlanta. And even though Trey did get hurt as well, that could have went bad for them. But them as a whole, as a team, they showed why, they're better than Atlanta's, second options and third options and fourth options. They showed, Drew Holiday stepped up, Chris Middleton stepped up. That could have been bad for Giannis too, the hyperextension. Then he goes to the NBA Finals and just completely dominates and kills the notion of this guy who's primarily a attack the basket type guy can't win a championship in this shooting era. He shut that notion down, and I'm happy for him, and all the gloating he's doing on social media, he's entitled to it right now, man.
Yeah, definitely deserves it for sure. I mean, I think what made his finals run even more impressive is him coming off that injury, because I know personally, I didn't think he was going to make it like at all throughout the finals. It ended up just being like a hyperextension, no torn ACL. But yeah, I thought that made it even more impressive. I thought his game 6 was one of the greatest finals performances ever. Easily 50 points, 14 rebounds, 5 assists in a closeout game in front of your home stadium. Couldn't have gotten any better than that. I'm surprised a little bit that Monty Williams didn't run sort of the box and one, similar to like what the Toronto Raptors
did in
why? 2019. Why'd they do that?
I'm gonna tell you why. Because you can't run a box and one on a post player. The reason why Giannis got the box and one ran on him like they did in 2019, and actually for like 2 or 3 seasons, team was implementing that against Giannis because he was primarily playing a point forward's role. If you run in a box and one and you got Giannis at the top of the key, yeah, it's easier to defend him that way, and he allowed you to defend him that way. But that's what I mean when I say the adjustment that Coach Bud made from the Nets series going into the NBA Finals. Okay, Giannis, we're going to put you in a position where they have to guard you. We're not going to allow a box and one to be played on you. If you're giving him the ball 12, 14 feet from the basket, then he can use his skill sets and become completely unguardable and become the dominant Giannis that we know he can be versus having him bring the ball up and attempt to facilitate the offense, pointing fingers like he's a point guard. No, you're garbage at that. Maybe through spurts on occasions, you can do that, but to run the entire system around that, every time I've seen Giannis in an isolation situation against the Nets, it made me want to throw up. Blake Griffin is standing back at the free throw line while this man is 26 feet away from the basket like this, daring them to shoot the ball. That's how you could effectively run a boxing one against a player like that. But when you got him 12, 14 feet from the basket, you can't run it.
So it's kind of like the Drew Holiday effect now that they have an actual point guard that could facilitate the ball.
Because that was the excuses before. They really didn't have a point guard that could take the ball out of the hands of Giannis. So they had to put him in that position. But now they got Drew Holiday, which kind of, took Giannis out of that role. And even though he still wanted to play it, throughout most of the season, he had a lot of success doing that. But that's not going to fly in the playoffs. As we've seen the past 3 years, he had success in the regular season, won 2 MVPs doing that. But when it comes to the playoffs and these teams locked down, you got to see him, 7 times and win 4 out of 7. Now these guys is really strapping you down, and it's not as easy as it was through the 82-game regular season. So, that's why I commend him for allowing Coach Bud to coach him and say, look, bro, we got to take you out of this point forward role. We got to put you where you could be dominant. And that's what they did, and they won.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, that was a great breakdown. I just want to say that to Giannis, I mean, this is one of the most meaningful finals wins since LeBron in 2016. I mean, this was one of the biggest underdogs in the NBA, this Bucks team, because nobody thought they could do it because they didn't have that superstar tandem. They just had Giannis, and then they had some excellent role players. And that's, that is something that we really didn't predict would win the finals with all these teams running around now with superstars. But I mean, commend to Giannis. He did it the right way. He didn't abandon his team, stayed loyal, signed with Milwaukee. They built this team around him. And then just, you got to commend Giannis as much as you got to commend the role players, because everybody, this was truly a team win here. This was truly a team win. I mean, Chris Middleton stepped up huge. Drew Holiday, can't say enough good things about them. But all the credit in the world to Giannis for doing it the right way. And I got to agree with you, Luke, that Game 6 performance was amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah, 100%. And not only for Giannis, but I feel like we got to give some props to Coach Bud, because I mean, this guy, people were trying to fire him when his team's in the finals. And I understand that, he's had some ups and downs. There were some things prior to the adjustment that it was like, what is this guy doing? But I
was one of them. I wanted to fire him simply because of the game plan going into game 1, when you let Chris Paul give you 30 and 8.
Yeah.
And basically just allowed him to pick the defender on the court he wanted to go against and isolate. Like, you switched everything, and I get it because you cocky defensively. A lot of these guys are all world defenders. Chris Middleton's a great defender. Drew Holiday, first team all defense. Giannis, defensive player of the year. So you can get cocky and say, hey, let's just switch everything, whatever. But when you allow Chris Paul to say, Brooke, come here, or, Bobby Portis, come here, and then isolate the floor and let him give you 30 and 8 in a season opener, coming off of the performance he had in Game 7, the last series. That's why I said, Coach Bud, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. You played assistant head coach for upwards of a decade under Coach Pop. You know some defense.
Yeah, 100%.
Does this loss by Chris Paul, or not really Chris Paul, but for the Suns, being up 2-0, do you think this takes him down sort of in like the hierarchy of point guards all time?
Me?
Yeah.
No. I knew coming into this series, a lot of people had Chris Paul either in their top 5 or right outside of it. And really, I made a video on TikTok about if he were to win, where does that inevitably place him? Like, people already got him. Is he gonna put him ahead of Big O? No. Stockton? You can argue, Zeke, no. Magic,
Steph.
no. Steph, no. So if you didn't have him inside of your top 5, you had him right outside at 6 or 7 anyway. Winning a championship wasn't going to put – Chris Paul was playing with house money. People are going, oh, we so happy that he's here. Glad to see him in this position that he's never been in before. Can he pull it out? If he did pull it out, it would have been Chris Paul finally got his ring. If he didn't pull it out, it's like, I feel bad for Chris Paul, but he should have played better. It's not going to change where he ranks to me, in my opinion.
Well, the only reason I ask is because he led all players in turnovers in the finals, and that's just really not a Chris Paul thing to do.
True.
So he didn't play well down the stretch. In my opinion, he, like you said, he's right outside the top 5 for me. Magic, right. Steph, the Big O, Stockton, all up in there. But yeah, I think he's hovering around there.
Right. I would agree.
Yeah, and I completely agree with that as well. And I feel like the only thing that it would have done if he does go into that series and he wins a ring and he plays well, I feel like that just kind of eliminates the narrative that he chokes and all that stuff that's been floating around forever, more so than it would have moved him up in the all-time rankings or anything like that.
1,000% agree. Yeah.
So with that being said, we are going to get into ranking some players 1 through 4. This is still NBA, and we were talking about Giannis, so I'm going to kick it off here. And I have got Giannis, Embiid, AD, and Jokic. I went straight big men right now. Giannis is coming off of that finals MVP, coming off of a fantastic performance. We were just talking about how he made those adjustments, and he's easily one of the top players in the world right now. But we've got Jokic, who's coming off of it, a season MVP, so he's playing very well too. OG, if you want to start it off, where do you think those guys rank in relation to one another?
So you said Joker, Giannis, Embiid, and
Anthony Davis.
Anthony Davis. Right now, going into next season, I gotta put Giannis 1.
Yeah.
I gotta put Embiid over Joker at 2. I have Joker at 3 and AD at 4. 21-8. 21-8 this season is not Anthony Davis like. So now he's on a show and prove type of situation. Like, what can he provide? He needs to be upwards of 27-10 next season if he wants to gain the respect amongst the rest of the league and us as content creators. So that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I'm also going to rank Giannis first, just coming off of an insane finals performance. I'm gonna put Embiid too, just because I felt like he's better defensively, better at cleaning the glass, better at getting boards. Nikola Jokic, obviously a better facilitator. I think he averaged 8 assists or something around there last season, won in the MVP. I'm still going to put him at 3rd. That might be a little bit disrespectful, but yeah, like you said, AD is going to go 4th with his first really sort of bad season he had last year.
True.
I mean, just last year 2 years ago, he was a top 5 player in the world, in my opinion, maybe even top 4, top 3.
I agree. He was in my top 5.
Yeah, but I don't know. Injuries, I guess, played a role into it coming off or from last year. So, yeah, I'm going to rank it Giannis, Joel Embiid, Jokic, and AD.
All right. Yeah. I'm going to agree with Giannis at 1. I just don't think you could take that away from him right now. I'm going to go Joker at 2. Just because of how much he's kind of revolutionized the center position, was facilitating. And I mean, he's getting more triple doubles than any center I've ever seen. And I'm going to go Embiid 3. And that's not disrespecting any of these guys. All of these guys are all world. I'm going to go Embiid at 3 because of how much of an all-around player he is, scoring, defense. And AD, I got to agree at 4. Just because, 5 years ago, if anybody was predicting, who's going to be the best player in the world in 5 years, a lot of people's answers would have been Anthony Davis, just because of how much of a stud he was. And right now, coming off that season, that was not the best player in the world. right there. That was not him. So he's got to play way better next season. He's got to stay on the court. He's got to stay healthy in order to, move up in the rankings with these guys.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with the consensus here. I've got Giannis at 1. I mean, you just can't put him any lower than that right now. It's blasphemous if you do. I've got Embiid at 2, and I feel like honestly he may have won the MVP this season over Jokic had it not been for him missing some time with injuries. And the way that he played in the playoffs was fantastic. Obviously, we won't get into the whole Ben Simmons thing, but he weighs them down to an extent where Embiid is playing very, very well even with an injury, with supposedly, issues with his knee, but he still was just having an outstanding performance. Then we've got Jokic, who ends up winning the MVP. He played well early in the playoffs, but I think that Embiid has the edge just slightly. And then Anthony Davis with the season that he had, like you guys said, it's rough to put him any higher than that with these guys and their caliber of play this past season.
Yeah. So we're pretty much all in agreement that Giannis is first and AD is fourth. Just Joel Embiid.
Yeah.
I mean, and Jokic and Embiid are close enough as it is, Yeah.
I agree. That's an argument that until one pulls apart from each other, they both do things differently well. So I don't have a problem with anybody having Joker ahead of Embiid. I can debate you, but you're not stupid for doing that. You know what I'm saying?
It depends on what you value almost. If you value the playmaking and the passing and stuff like that, then you might go Jokic. But if you value the scoring and stuff more than that, then you'd probably go Embiid.
Right.
I'm gonna do some shooting guards. So we're gonna have Donovan Mitchell, Devin Booker, Klay Thompson, and then we got Paul George. Where are you guys putting them?
OG, you want to start us off again?
I could kick it off. You said Donovan Mitchell, Devin Booker,
Klay Thompson, and Paul
Klay
George.
and Paul George.
Yeah.
Give me Paul George first. As weird as this may sound, but I think Paul George is the best out of that group. Give me Paul George first. Give me Donovan Mitchell ahead of Booker. No, give me Booker ahead of Mitchell. Give me Booker, Mitchell, and then Klay.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay, go ahead.
I'm in agreement with the Klay because we haven't seen him play in 2 years, right? You can't.
That's not even why.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
really?
No.
Why are you having list?
Those 3 guys are number 1 options. Klay is not, and we don't know if he can be. And Klay is primarily not only not a number 1 option, but he's off the ball. He's 60 points and 10 dribbles. Like James Harden is 10 dribbles in 1 possession because he has to work to get that bucket. Klay is just being set up, coming off pin downs, whatever the case may be. I cannot put him in an elite class with those other 2 guys because he's damn good at what he does, no doubt about it. But to try to put him next to Paul George, Donovan Mitchell, and Devin Booker, I can't do that. So that's surely the reason. Best shooter out of all 3 of them, but player as a whole, no, I got to have those 3 guys ahead of Klay. That's just my assessment on it. You guys may be different, may feel different. I might have convinced some of you already by going first. We'll see.
No, that makes sense, though. That makes a lot of sense. I got Donovan Mitchell at 1 here. I think he's a top 10 player right now as we speak. Didn't get it done in the finals, but, and he dropped that game against the Grizzlies too, but that's nor here nor there. I got Devin Booker at 2 and then Paul George at 3, just because I feel like Paul George should be at the level right now where he's leading teams to these playoff series victories. And he did for some part of that series against who was it? What was the series that Kawhi got injured in?
He got injured against the Jazz, but he missed the entire series against the
right. Yeah, and Paul George had an incredible playoff run this year. Incredible. Like the way off P, the pandemic P, all those nicknames are gone. He is Paul George now.
I just feel like he's been in the league for so long now, and he's been sort of a top 10 player for pretty much the entire his entire career so far. But I just feel like he should be winning these series. He should be winning these series. He should be the number 1 option on a team. He's one of the best two guards or 2-way guards in the league. but he doesn't really come up clutch in the more pivotal moments as a Donovan Mitchell would, as a Devin Booker would, in my opinion. But I think Donovan's the best out of those four right now. And like I said, Clay is at fourth because we haven't seen him play. And like you said, he's not a number one option. We haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, for me, I think I'm going to have to go Donovan Mitchell at 1 as well. And then I like Paul George at 2. I do agree with OG that he's eliminated a lot of those narratives that were surrounding him for a long time now, but in this playoffs here, or throughout the playoffs, totally, he's eliminated that with his play. He played very well. He was a little bit inconsistent in some areas, which I'd like to see him improve on. And I made a point several episodes back when talking about the Clippers and talking about Paul George that I almost feel like Paul George plays better when he is that number one option. Like when Kawhi Leonard is on the court, it feels like Paul George almost doesn't know what to do as much. I feel like he's better as the primary ball handler. But then I'll have to go Devin Booker at 3, and I'll have to agree with you guys, Klay Thompson at 4, because we haven't seen him play in forever. And yeah, he pass or catch and shoot.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that I was gonna have Klay Thompson a little higher on this list, not number 1, but like a little higher on this list. But OG did convince me not to put him a little higher. So yeah, I'm gonna have Donovan Mitchell. Yeah, I'm gonna have Donovan Mitchell 1. Paul George, I am gonna have it 2. Yeah, I gotta agree with you, Gage, that if Paul George, he always shows out when he is the number 1 option. I feel like it's been a detriment to him to be on these teams where he wasn't the number 1 option. I don't know. But he definitely showed out in this playoffs. Got to give him major props. He got rid of that pandemic P label. But with Donovan Mitchell, he's just clearly the number 1 scoring option. He's consistent. He's just very, very reliable. And I think he's one of the future best shooting guard.
I want to elaborate on that. Now that we've all gone, you guys got high praise for Donovan Mitchell. Here's the thing. I love Donovan Mitchell. You know, I was the one on record stating that he would be better than Ben Simmons. When everybody was on the Ben Simmons hype train, I said, no, it's Donovan. He's the guy. But Donovan, to me, didn't take that developmental leap that I assumed he would take after the bubble. You know what I'm saying? Like, I thought we saw Bubble Mitchell, and it's like next year, he's going to do something special. And he kicked off the first half of the season, more than half of the season. He was treacherous. There's a reason why Donovan Mitchell was never in the MVP conversation. And that's hard to try to wrap your head around. Donovan, think about it for a minute. What is the criteria to winning the MVP? Every single thing fell in line for Donovan Mitchell to literally walk away with it. You don't even have to do much. They want you to win it. Narrative, best record in the so winning percentage. They had the best record in the NBA. They got the 6th man of the year, the defensive player of the year. The only thing they were missing was the MVP. Donovan Mitchell averaged like 26, 5, and 5. That should be more than enough to get you the league MVP. The reason why he didn't walk away with it is because he shot so terribly from the field. He was never even if he didn't win it, whatever, but to not even be in the conversation when you have the best team in the league. To not even be in the conversation is an indictment on you. And that's because Donovan Mitchell didn't take that leap, which the Donovan Mitchell you saw in the playoffs before they got put out was not the Donovan Mitchell that you saw in the regular season. Because if it was, he would have ran away with the MVP. That is why I have Donovan Mitchell lower on my list, because he in the playoffs, he's cool. But when it comes to the regular season, he's like inconsistent, poo-poo, takes bad shots, shoots terrible from the field. There, like I say, to reiterate, there is a reason why he did not even enter the conversation for MVP when you have the best team in the NBA statistically. That's unheard of.
Yeah, and I agree with a lot of what you're saying. But I feel like, to an extent, a lot of the narratives that were swirling this season with Jokic playing as well as he did, especially late with the injury to Jamal Murray and him coming out and doing everything that he did. And I'm not saying that, Donovan Mitchell necessarily deserved it over him, but with that narrative coming about, and then the Steph Curry narrative where it feels like he's pretty much doing it all himself. You know what I mean? He's going out there and he's dropping 50 almost every night. He's just playing out of his mind. With those narratives coming up and Embiid kind of falling back with his injury and everything, I feel like that played into it also. And I'm not
That's
saying
only
that,
3 guys though.
Yeah, you're right there too. For him to not be in the conversation at all, yeah, I mean,
Not one time throughout the entire season was he ever mentioned as a candidate to be the MVP. Never. I tracked it.
That's fair.
But you also put Paul George over him, and I mean, well, Paul George had a good regular season, but he still wasn't doing anything fantastic either. And I don't know that I would have put him in that conversation.
No,
and then he had a great playoffs as well, but so did Donovan Mitchell, like you said.
But the thing about it is it wasn't in Paul George's lap. They don't want to give it to you when you got a second superstar like Kawhi Leonard playing with you. They don't want to do that. They didn't want to do it to LeBron when they feel like he deserved it back in 2011. You know what I'm saying? Like, or they don't want to do it. They don't want to give it to Kevin Durant when he's playing with, James Harden and Kyrie Irving. No matter how good he plays, they're not going to allow you. They want to give it to the solo guy. They want to give it to James Harden while he's in Houston. They want to give it to Russell Westbrook, barely making the playoffs, but averaging a triple-double. They want to give it to Derrick Rose, who leads his team to the Eastern Conference Finals, seemingly by himself on a great defensive team. They want to give it to those guys. So Paul George, it wasn't in his lap. Like you said, Donovan Mitchell's the number one option. He's the sole scorer for that team. They had the sixth man of the year, the defensive player of the year. Why? Record-based means a lot of that. A lot of that has to do with record. 6th man of the year, defensive player of the year, defensive efficiency rating, PER, all of that goes into account. And for Donovan Mitchell to not even be mentioned to be in I don't even care if he wins it or not, just be in the conversation.
Yeah.
They're begging you, please take this award. You got the best team in the NBA, number 1 seed. You got the defensive play, the best defense in the league, or arguably the best defense. It's oozing for you to just reach out and grab it. It's yours for the taking. For it to be that consensus that it should be yours for the taking compared to history, what history showed us, and for you not even to be in the conversation, that's an indictment on you. That's the thing. Now, Paul George's situation is different. That's why I say that.
The opportunity was there, but him is like regressing almost instead of actually taking that lead. I get what you're saying. And you mentioned with, playing how he played in the bubble last season and then comparison to this season. Is that why you put Devin Booker over him as well? Because Devin Booker was also great in the bubble, and then he comes out this season and he still continues to perform at a high level.
Right. And Devin Booker had to make more of an adjustment than he did. Devin Booker had a guy, he came from averaging 6-7 assists a game the year prior to that dropping to 4 or 5 because he's adding a ball dominant player to his team. So now he has to make an adjustment of, okay, I'm gonna have the ball in my hands less. So now I have to be more efficient and I have to pick my spots more because I can't just come down and just jack up these shots. You know what I'm saying? It was an entire turnaround from the record that they had last year to making it to the NBA Finals in one season just by adding Chris Paul. So it's like that's an adjustment for him, and he played great in that role, as we could see. Even though they lost, but they lost at the highest stage. So, hats off to Donovan Mitchell for what he did in the playoffs. They actually did more than I thought they would. Also, hats off to Devin Booker for showing me something. So I just think at this point I'm taking Booker over Mitchell because he's more consistent.
I sort of agree with Gage to a certain extent about like the media plays the biggest role in who gets voted the top 3 for MVP. Steph did it. He was leading the league in scoring without Klay Thompson for a second year. Nikola Jokic and Joel Embiid completely revitalized the center position, doing it in both their different ways. And then you think about it, like Salt Lake City, Utah, one of the smallest markets in the entire NBA. Donovan Mitchell just wasn't going to get that narrative. He wasn't going to get that spotlight shown on him, even though the Jazz were so good. Like nobody really thought that the Jazz were going to win or make it to the NBA Finals, even as the 1 seed, even with having the defensive player of the year and the 6th man of the year. Mike Conley's no scrub either. Joe Ingles as well. But I feel like, I don't know. I feel like Donovan Mitchell is a little bit underrated in my eyes. As of right now, I think he is a top 10 player. Just in terms of scoring.
Statistically, he finished the season better than anticipated, but I actually watched the game, so I'm not about to let those numbers fool me. And I just think, even though it is a small market team, nobody cares about the Utah Jazz. But you, sir, according to history, have everything at your front door. It's not like you have to go get it like Steph did. People wanted to see Steph do what he did. And because he did it, he was a candidate. It's literally at his front door. Everything he needs to fit the criteria is there for the taking. And for you not to even, that's the thing. It's not about going to go get it. It's already here.
Being in the conversation about it.
Just can we hear a whisper?
Yeah, it's like he had the easiest path, so to speak, but wasn't even talked about for it. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
For you not even to be talked
fair
about,
assessment.
though. You know what I mean? Like, if he was talked about, cool. Even if he don't get it, give it to Joker. He got the more narrative pointed his way. The stats he put up was unbelievable. Donovan Mitchell finishes 5th in a race, fine. But for you not to even be in the top 5, you didn't even get a vote.
Yeah.
Derrick Rose got a first place MVP vote.
All right, but that shouldn't have happened. Though.
Who's the fan?
Go look at the Knicks record when they acquired.
No, I'm a Knicks
Rose.
fan. I'm a Knicks fan. I know what Derrick Rose did when he came to the Knicks this year. Like he turned us around. Trust me. I'm very aware. I mean, he deservedly should have taken Elfrid Payton's spot in the starting lineup way earlier than he fucking did.
Definitely should have.
Bullshit that he had to wait. He had to wait so long until.
But
the
it's
playoffs.
just that's an indictment on Mitchell. Rose got an MVP vote. Mitchell didn't even. Like, come on.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair because I get what you're saying because I hadn't recency bias with what I'm thinking more of what Donovan Mitchell did in the playoffs this year because he turned it on in the playoffs 100%.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, and he's one of the best players at that. He shows up in the playoffs. I mean, credit to him. He will always show up in the playoffs. All right. I got to take into account because I didn't finish my ranking, but all right. I'm going to stick with Donovan Mitchell at 1. I'm going to stick with that. Paul George at 2. I'm going to put Devin Booker at 3. I would have put Devin Booker. I love Devin Booker. Donovan Mitchell and Devin Booker are my favorite players in the NBA. Devin Booker, to me, he just needed to show me more in the finals. He didn't show up when his team needed him the most. I feel like in some of those games, especially that game 6, there was just it was something lacking with Devin Booker. We expected more out of him. And he just really, he wasn't at his best, like they needed him to be. And then, Clay at 4, just because of what you said, OG, with him, he's an off ball player, obviously stud player, awesome guy, awesome shooting guard in the NBA. Definitely all-star player, but we haven't seen if he can carry a team if needed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. And then the last one, 4 players rank these guys. We're going young players now. Going LaMelo Ball, going Anthony Edwards, going Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and we're going Colin Sexton.
I'm going first again?
Yeah,
go ahead.
Take the floor.
Melo, I'm biased. I saw this kid's ascension from his freshman year in high school. And I said, I'm on record again stating that kid right there is about to be the best out of the 3 brothers. Oh, I was stupid. I was crazy. I was called, I don't know basketball. You don't know what you're talking about. This is why Lonzo Ball was averaging a triple-double for Chino Hills. I said this. It was a kind of a hot take at the time, but now we can look back and say, damn, he might have been on to something.
LeVar said the same thing.
He was saying that LiAngelo was going to be the most talented of the 3.
No, hell no.
No, that was.
That's why I say I've seen it. It was something about this kid. He's got the moxie. He's oozing superstar. Lonzo just didn't ooze superstar to me. He oozed great player, but he didn't ooze like.
Yeah.
Melo got that aura. I've seen it at an early age. But I got Melo. You said Anthony Edwards, Melo. Who else did you say?
I said SGA and Colin Sexton.
Okay, I like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander second. Anthony Edwards is a bit inefficient, which is pretty consistent with rookies. And Colin Sexton had a head start. Even though I like what Sexton did this year, what he gave his team this year, I'm gonna take Anthony Edwards' ceiling over his. But I really like Shai. I really like what Shai brought. I think Shai shot like 40% from 3 this year. And, he's bringing a ton to the table. And a lot of people wrote off that OKC team last year when they had Chris Paul. And I was like, hey, this team might be solid, man. They got Gallo, they got Shai, they got Chris Paul. They got a decent amount of talent on that team, and they ended up making the playoffs. So Give me LaMelo at 1. Give me Shea at 2. Give me Anthony Edwards at 3 and Colin Sexton at 4.
And then just like one quick comment, and then I want you to go, Gage. I think Chris Paul being there for that 1 year, I think that's gonna make a huge, like way bigger of an impact than people may think on SGA's career. Because it showed him how to be a leader, showed him how to lead the team at an early age. And now he's going to be that leader for them moving forward, him and Lou Dort, with that young roster and their 5,000 draft picks that they have.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say something pretty similar because it's the Chris Paul effect. It's like everywhere he goes, he makes those guys better. You know, I mean, you see it this year with Devin Booker having to make his adjustments, and it's a clean transition for him to that, secondary ball handler spot. Yeah, and then DeAndre Ayton has a huge leap this season and looks very, very good. For me, I'm also biased as a Hornets fan, but I don't care. LaMelo Ball at number 1 for sure. And then at number 2, I think I'm going to have to agree with SGA. He took a huge step up, and I think that he's going to continue to improve on that. At number 3, I'm going to go Sexton because I feel like he took a big step that a lot of people were looking for and, made it work considering what he's got around him. And then I'll have to go with Anthony Edwards at the last spot. And that's not a dig at Anthony Edwards or anything because he had a great, great season. I mean, damn near stole the Rookie of the Year. So I think he's going to continue to be great as well.
So I'm gonna agree. I think LaMelo's got the highest ceiling out of all these guys. Again, what OG said, superstar written all over him. I think I'm also gonna go SGA at 2. I think one of the most under talked about guys in the league, what he's done for OKC and one of the, getting him from the Clippers, that trade was awesome for OKC. They really set up their future nicely. I am going to go Anthony Edwards 3. I like Sexton. I do. I like Sexton. I like what he did with the Cavs, but Anthony Edwards, he was a little slow coming out of the gate, but as the year went on, we started seeing that talent that he showed at Georgia. We started seeing why he was number 1 overall pick. And I look forward. So I'm just projecting. I'm kind of projecting here, but that's fine because we all see the talent that Anthony Edwards has. So I'm going to go Anthony Edwards at 3, and I'm going to go Sexton at 4. Again, not a knock on any of these guys. But yeah, that's going to be my ranking.
Yeah, you kind of have to rank these guys based off their ceiling because they're all like so close together because none of them are like superstars yet, but all of them have the potential to be. I'm also going to go with LaMelo at 1. I'm going to go with SGA at 2. I think SGA is the best scorer out of all 4 of these guys, but I think LaMelo Ball, the factor of him just, being able to being able to do it all. I think it's him. I'm also going to go with Anthony Edwards at 3. He was inconsistent throughout the year, but then he had 40-point games. He had a game where I think he shot like 80 or something percent from 3. He had a crazy game. And then Colin Sexton's going to be at 4. I like Colin Sexton. That's like not a knock on him. I think he's the best defensive player out of all of these 4. But you hear him in trade talks now. I don't know necessarily if he's the number 1 option there, or if you could build around him with him being the number 1 option. But he is going to be at 4 for me.
All right. So that's all of our rankings 1 through 4. We're just going to stick with NBA here, and we're going to do a little throwback. If you guys could watch anybody, any past it could be a current player that's past their prime now, or any past player, anybody that you would want to see in person in their prime playing ball, who would you choose?
Wilt Chamberlain. I want to see Wilt Chamberlain. I want to see that 100-point game. Put me back in 1962 and put me in that 100-point game. I want to sit in them stands, and I want to watch every single basket. That way I can come back and say, look, I witnessed it. Because there's a lot of people that don't believe it happened.
Yeah.
A lot of people that don't even believe in Wilt Chamberlain. You know what I'm saying? They think he's a myth. But I want to go back and I want to watch it.
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily. Can I pick a team? Could I go with the Lob City Clippers? Because I feel going to a live game for the Lob City Clippers, that has to be so fun. So hype in there. I'd probably go Lob City Clippers. Yeah, 2013, 2014.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'm torn here. Because I'm torn between Ewing and I'm torn between Oscar Robertson, because I would say Oscar Robertson because like everybody wants to compare him and Westbrook, but like if Oscar Robertson was doing that, what Westbrook's doing now back then, like that's pretty damn impressive. But also Ewing because I just to see the Knicks be good, man. That would be something like, oh my God. So my parents, everybody that's old that I live around talks about the Knicks when they were good. And I'm just like, I wish I could experience that. Like the Knicks going to the final, the Knicks when they were battling with the Bulls back in the 90s, just like to experience that Knicks team with Ewing and Starks and all those players. Like I just need that. I just need to experience Knicks success.
I feel you.
Yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough. So I'd probably go Ewing. I go Ewing.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
See, and I would go a similar route with my Hornets, but considering that we've never been good at anything pretty much
Larry
ever.
Johnson.
I mean, we've had some good players here and there sprinkled in. I might go like Muggsy Bogues just because of his height, and that would be wild to watch. But I think that I would have to go Kareem. I think I'd want to go back and watch the things that Kareem did for the center position and just how dominant he was during his time, especially when he was paired up with Magic and the things that those guys were doing together. I think that would have been really, really fun.
I think those are all great answers.
An underrated one though, to go back and watch Isaiah Thomas's MVP caliber season again. Just because of his fall from grace that he's had.
Boston.
Boston. Isaiah Thomas on
sure.
Boston. Like, because that season was crazy what he was doing. Now I know he was a complete defensive liability. Like he was like just not.
He was giving you 30 a night though, and he took that team to the Eastern Conference Finals.
King of the fourth quarter. I mean, that guy. That was
he was
something
averaging
else.
10 a game in the fourth. Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember that year.
Yeah.
He actually just made his debut in the Drew League. I think he put up like 31 points too. He was giving them boys some buckets.
Really?
So,
Yeah.
That's dope.
Variety.
All right. With all that being said, we're going to get into something that's similar to what we typically do. We usually have our Speedy Spotlights where we'll each go through and pick a topic to talk about for, a short amount of time. But OG, since you are our guest, we're going to give this spotlight to you. Anything that you have going on or you want to promote, this is your time to do it. If you have a sports question that you'd like to get our opinion on, the floor is yours.
I don't really have a sports question, anything like that, but I'm pretty sure you guys all know, what I do. TikTok, OgDaBeast _sports. I try to keep it funny with some truth. Y'all know how I get down, but that's pretty much all I got to promote. I mean, the rest is gonna speak for itself. We do got some stuff in the works that I really can't talk much about right now, but
okay.
But what I can talk about is just basically follow me on TikTok. That's it.
You're telling us to be prepared. Be prepared for what you got.
Be prepared. Be ready. Yeah.
If you're not following this guy already, you're doing it the wrong way. I don't know how you're following us and not following him, to be honest. The CEO of Top Fives and Squads. Got to go follow him.
Appreciate that, man. Appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And with that, we're going to take this time to talk about something that we've talked about off and on a little while now. We had our guest a little while back, Tony Carr, and we talked to him about it during this time as well. It's been a debate in our Discord. Popeyes or Chick-fil-A. And we're not just talking chicken sandwiches here. We're talking the restaurant as a whole, Popeyes or Chick-fil-A.
I mean, when you see this is a tough conversation. As a fellow big dude, as the CEO of the big guys, I like to eat. You know what I'm saying? I love me some Popeyes. Both of them is literally right down the street from me. Chick-fil-A and Popeyes, I got options. But to me, they just, I can't compare them. I can't compare Chick-fil-A to Popeyes because one makes breasts, wings, thighs, and legs, and the other makes chicken tenders and sandwiches. So it's like, I mean, are we comparing the sandwiches? Because if we can break it down into categories, right?
Well, okay.
Of
so
course.
if you're saying you can't really compare the chicken because they, are making two different things, so to speak. If you just had to compare the other things that they do, if you had to compare like the fries and the shakes and all that kind of stuff.
So we breaking it down. I never had I don't even think Popeye serves shakes. So Chick-fil-A got that, right? Now, if we're talking about the chicken sandwich, both prestigious, both had their reign, and both went viral. I'm going Chick-fil-A over Popeyes with the chicken sandwich.
Okay.
Now, if we're talking about hospitality, I'm definitely going Chick-fil-A. They just don't make any mistakes. We talking about, but just over 80 chicken place that's comparable to Popeyes. Now you talk about Browns, you talk about KFC, even Cane's, anything like that. I'm taking Popeyes over all. I think they are at the top of the mountain when it comes to serving breasts, wings, thighs, and legs. that's why they differ from Chick-fil-A. It's kind of hard to compare because one specializes in breast, wings, thighs, and legs, and the other specializes in sandwiches.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's kind of hard to compare the taste. But if we breaking it down in categories, definitely Chick-fil-A sandwich over Popeyes. Definitely, no question.
Okay. All right. I'll take that. We'll have you back on because of that. I'll take that. Whenever you are able to, whenever you're able to promote whatever it is that you've got coming up, we'll have you back on because you said that.
Yeah.
I had Popeye's chicken sandwich above Chick-fil-A's just because Chick-fil-A, listen, you need to put Chick-fil-A sauce on the Chick-fil-A sandwich. It's not seasoned. It's not. It's delicious chicken, great chicken, right? But it's not seasoned. Popeyes seasons their shit.
You gotta
Popeyes
get the
has some good
spicy, man. You gotta get the spicy from Chick-fil-A.
I can't handle spice. That's my fault. I can't handle spice. I can't handle spice.
Spicy. You know I like spicy.
Even with that being said, though, I feel like Chick-fil-A's chicken is a lot more moist, a lot juicier too, and that's why I can eat it by itself over like a Popeyes chicken sandwich. Yeah, exactly.
All right, guys, that's going to be it for part 1 with OG. We had a great time talking to him. If you're not following him on TikTok, be sure to do so at OgDaBeast_sports. He makes some amazing stuff. Look out for part 2 coming later this week where we talk some NFL stuff and have some great conversations there as well. If you guys are listening to us on Apple Podcasts, be sure to rate and review us. It helps us out a ton, helps us continue to build the community and do some awesome stuff for you guys in the future. If you haven't downloaded the Overtime app, be sure to do that as well. The link is at the link in our bio on the Totally Unqualified TikTok account. Be sure to check it out. Download the app. It's like social media meets sports, keeps you entertained, keeps you informed, and it keeps you updated. What else could you ask for in a sports app? It does all the things you want it to. And if you want to keep up with us when we don't have a new episode out, or if you're all caught up on the episodes, follow us on TikTok, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram. We have all those platforms for a reason, so you guys can stay updated on everything we've got going on. Have a great day.